and welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avantes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mattatarms
What is up, gang?
and Zeortio.
You stole my thunder! No! Wow. Just move on to Versika.
Are you sure
And-
our Hearthstone podcast? I see Waystone disabled and activate drops on the
Yeah.
Twitch stream.
So, Versika, thanks for joining us tonight. We have a lot to talk about. It's going to be an interesting show, guys. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I agree.
So we started with just a little bit of news, and then all of a sudden, now we have quite a bit to talk about. So before we jump into that.
Yeah, so it's like stick around for the play portion tonight because we have something a little special in store for you guys tonight. We thought it was going to be a lot news day, so we were actually planning on the bulk of the show being play portion, and now it's like
We'll
Yeah.
get to it, though.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So before we jump into all that, we do have a listener email this week from Pepe Latour. Says, "Hey guys, I was having some fun on casual mode when I ran up against a familiar name, Mattatarms. It made the game that much better knowing who was on the other end of the board. Matt ultimately won our hard-fought game of Death Rattle Rogue versus Mechathune Druid after loading his board with 7 sevens. My spreading plague couldn't hold them back long enough to deploy the OTK before all my armor ran out. Guess I forgot to use my hero power."
That's awesome.
So, Matt, you remember this game?
I do remember this game, and I wasn't just playing Death Rattle Rogue. I was playing Death Rattle Star Aligner Rogue. That's why,
Yeah.
if he remembers
were.
the game at all, I didn't trade 2 of my 7/7s in because I was hoping to top deck the Star Aligner. So, then, and I'll send you an email. I'll get your battle tag, and we'll send you a friend request because I might have deleted it. So, yes, please. I will get you on my list as soon as possible.
Awesome. So thank you for sending the email. We love to hear from you guys. If anybody has any awesome experiences or questions, don't forget, feel free to email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. All right, guys, no new iTunes reviews this week, so that means let's jump right into the news. So, as we were stating, we thought it was going to be a lot news week. Talk about a few nerfs, talk about a tournament, move on and play some games, everybody's happy. But no. Twitter had to literally explode this morning with some news that Blizzard could be cracking down on Hearthstone community leagues. Specifically, they are now requiring a community license to go forward. So, a couple of things I want to discuss before we get into this. Community licenses are not new. They've been on the site for as long as I can remember. They've been a thing that they want people to fill out and have before an event. This is not something that they just added overnight. If you guys don't know, the UHL got had a member of the Blizzard community team reach out to them this weekend, asking for them to contact them so that they could have a discussion. So, didn't know what this was about. Commissioner Lowe reached out to the Blizzard community team, and they had a discussion about the UHL needing to have a community license, which is fine, but that's where things kind of get a little muddy. So we've heard a couple of different sides of stories, and I believe everybody who has commented, I believe from both sides, because things can easily get misconstrued, things can easily get misunderstood, but I believe everyone heard what they heard. First and foremost, I want to get that out there. Now, with that said, I did reach out to some contacts that I have inside Blizzard, specifically inside the community team, because I wanted to kind of try to alleviate some of the possible misconceptions and maybe misinformation is the best way to put it. So I did, and I heard back from them this afternoon. And so basically, the way it went was I reached out to them this afternoon via phone call, and we discussed the current situation and some additional details. And essentially, it boiled down to this. Anyone looking to run an event or events should be applying for a community license through the esports team. This license can be found at communitytournaments.blizzardesports.com, wherein you can also find all of the rules and regulations for running events under this license. If there are specific questions around your event, please contact the esports team for these inquiries at tournamentlicenses@blizzard.com. The community license can actually extend over multiple events as well, as long as the total prize pool is under the amount of $10,000 per the stipulation of the license. We fully understand and appreciate the impact and passion of our organizers, especially those at the grassroots level. Any contact made to organizers recently was just to make them aware of the existing policies as stated within our terms and conditions, so they can continue to do the amazing things they do. That was their response to me this afternoon. So, with that said, tournaments are what the community license specifies. You know, I've read through it. I've done a quick search through it. Can't really find anything on leagues per se. So I'm going to turn this conversation over to Matt, Zeortio, and Versika to let them kind of discuss this from their perspectives and their speculations. So, Versika, let's start with you.
Okay, well, so obviously we got a different story this morning. And, you know, it's any time that you're called out, especially by, in this case, we're going to say the man, and you're told that you have to change what you're doing, you're immediately on the defensive. So let's, you know, put that in perspective too, that this is going to be a little bit of he said, she said, because I mean, how Blizzard intended it and how it was taken can be two different ways. And I think it's important to know that before we get into this, I know I'm a Blizzard fanboy. 95% of the games that I play are Blizzard games. And I know that sometimes I get a little bit of a reputation for being hard on Blizzard. And that's not because I don't like them. That's because I actually like them enough that I care about what's going on. So, you know, what we end up speculating here and what we end up pointing out here is at least coming from me, is coming from a place of concern, because this is talking about something that I am invested in. And is that, you know, is that on me? Yeah, it is. I'm invested in both what happened with United Hearthstone League because I was in seasons 1 and 2, but I'm invested in the community. That's why we do the show. And I'm invested in the game because I've invested a lot of time and money in the game, but it's also because I enjoy it and I enjoy the community that has been formed around it. So I guess for me, I broke it into 3 points. And if it's all right with the guys, I'd like to talk about these points as we go through. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So I think the first thing that I really wanted to point out is I don't think anyone is saying, at least anywhere in the Twitter discussion or the Reddit discussion that I read today, and I tried to read everything that came up, and that Reddit thread was crazy. There was a lot of stuff in it that didn't belong there, but I don't think anyone is disputing Blizzard's right to protect their IP or dictate to the community, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, this is where you're falling short, this is what we need you to do. And I think that's fine. But sometimes that presentation can come off a little bit brusque. So my concern is that even if it was intended to do one thing, if that intent didn't give you the desired result, to me, that seems like at that point you should be reaching out to that individual and being like, hey, okay, at some point our wires were crossed. Maybe this is not what we meant. Maybe this is, maybe, you know, where did we upset you? But my biggest question with this is, according to the people that I've spoken with, leagues have been around for over 3 years now. Why now is Blizzard calling league commissioners and saying, hey, you need to change up what you're doing. This is no longer acceptable.
Can I chime in on that? Because I have a speculation specifically on that.
Okay.
I believe that there's been a lot of kind of adjustments and changes in Hearthstone, specifically in the esports, as well as how the client marries up to the esports. And there was a tournament client that was intended and planned. And originally they told us that the tournament client was going to be very minimum. It's going to allow people to run tournaments, mainly in localized settings, like at your home or fireside. And the community kind of went a little ballistic and crazy, saying we want the tournament mode, but that's not what we want. We want something for organizing tournaments that does bans, that, you know, validates decks to make sure nobody's cheating, and the whole shebang. And so a lot of the community was under the impression that they were taking that information, adjusting their plan of action, and when they were going to release it, that's what we were going to see. And recently they came out with the announcement that the in-game tournament client was going to be reevaluated and shelved for the time being. And there's also an article coming out saying that the plan that they had going forward with the tournament client didn't meet the expectations of the community. So they need to reevaluate it and come up with another plan. It could be possible that this new plan does involve a league style structure, and some of the terminology and whatnot could get it confused with association with some of these community ran leagues. So a lot of it just needs to make sure they're licensed. Maybe it's possible so they can be involved in this process, but it's not something they're going to divulge yet, because obviously they may be in the building process of this. And some of the terminology of using the word league might cause a problem with some of the terminology they could possibly use in their, either in their esports structure or the client structure. Now, there is another league that is based out of Great Britain, and it's called the ESL Premiership. And it is a Hearthstone league, but they don't use league in any of their terminology. And I have yet to hear anyone from the ESL Premiership talk about this topic. And I'm sure if they were there, as far as I'm aware, as a global source, they've been around much longer than a lot of these leagues. I don't believe quite as long as Team Hearth League, THL, but most of the other leagues, they've been around longer, and they have more global exposure over, especially in Europe. A lot of the major players in esports for Hearthstone play in that league. So I would be surprised if they weren't contacted. And if they weren't contacted, it may mean because they don't necessarily meet the structure that they're concerned with, or they already have a license. and they're not worried about that.
Right. Okay. So I guess my question is now, why after 3 years are they just now contacting some of these leagues about licensing?
They might have just in the last few months realized that it was going to become an issue. Maybe it was just something they didn't quite enforce because there wasn't a need to enforce it. And again, we don't know what they're going to announce at BlizzCon or what they're going to announce next year. There could be something in the pipeline that just went into development that might, so that somebody in the meeting room said, "Hey, what are we going to do about these leagues that are formed that conflict with this mission that we have coming in?" Oh, well, somebody needs to contact them.
Okay, so I get that. I really do, but it's like if you're not going to enforce something 6 months ago, it's hard to enforce it now.
Sure, it's hard, which is probably why they've done this. Now, the Town Drunk in chat is a project manager, the recently appointed project manager of Team Hearth League, THL, and he was informed from the community manager that the license was all they need to do, and there's no mention of their changing their name, changing their structure of how the league is done. Again, we don't hear the terminology league in anywhere because probably the esports division considers a league just another form of elongated tournament. I mean, if you look at HCT, some of their tournaments span over months, and it's one big long tournament. Right. So it could be that they don't really care that it is a league. They just might not like the terminology league. And if the names need to be changed or the structure needs to be changed, I'm sure once they apply for the license, get it approved, and have a one-to-one communication with the esports division, that all that'll be worked out and all that. I do think that some people in this recent communication might have jumped the gun on the issues at hand without getting the full story. It sounds like Team Hearth League was communicated with in a way that it didn't impact their community so much. United Hearthstone League might be a little different. Again, I'm not directly privy to any of that information or communication, but I think over time and proper communication with Blizzard that all the leagues will be able to get back to normalcy with the correct licensing.
Okay, so I guess at this point then we want to know, okay, so why contact was made to begin with, and maybe that is because, you have HGC and Heroes, and then you have the Overwatch League and Overwatch, and I think that the global games have proven that team-oriented Hearthstone and the TESPA tournament, the collegiate series with Hearthstone, it's proven that league play will be watched from a Hearthstone standpoint. And HGG is sort of like a league play of sorts without necessarily being called a league.
True.
So maybe this is, you could have something like one of the problems when we were in the first season of UHL, and actually it became more of a problem in the second season of UHL, was scheduling. You had people on West Coast who were just getting home from work, and people on the East Coast that were getting ready to go to bed by the time the people on the West Coast were ready to play. So compound that with having to process that across the world, having to try to match up a European team with, a West Coast team or an East Coast team or whatever. And maybe it just became too much of a hassle. So maybe they're looking to divide like HGG and make it get into like regional leagues.
And I have a theory on that I was going to bring up as well.
So you could have like an NA league, and then you could have like a European league, and then you could have an APAC league where it's those teams come together, play out a season, and then come together for a tournament at the end on a much smaller scale. Instead of having everybody try to compete against everybody, you end up having the top 8 maybe that come to Blizzard during BlizzCon and do their tournament there, where it's all done in a LAN setting, much like HGC does their tournament. And that way, right now the Hearthstone, the World Finals aren't at BlizzCon. So really, they don't have a main tournament at BlizzCon. So
true, and there's
this would be something for that.
And there are some rumors. I haven't seen anything totally official, but there are some rumors through the pipe that Hearthstone Global Games (HGG) is not going to be continued next season, and it's possible the esports division started looking at other options, which keyed them into some of these leagues that exist, and it may be something similar to what they are possibly trying to get going. Again, this is all speculation. The Town Drunk does mention in our chat that esports is investigating leagues because they weren't aware they existed to such a scale that they do. Now, other departments within Blizzard, not just Hearthstone, but other departments, knew about the leagues, but the departments don't necessarily talk to each other unless there's relevancy. So it may have been they knew there were some small leagues, but they didn't know anything like UHL or THL to that extent existed without a license.
Can't confirm they are compartmentalized.
Yes. Okay, so go ahead, Matt.
And I think going on like kind of what happened today in general with the whole issue with tournament mode and the article that VentureBeat released yesterday with everything going on and the basic overall feel of the community, and basically the whole community that kind of follows the UHL, THL, all that, it felt like, okay, now, like, and especially the way that it was released to the general public, that Blizzard's now taking away more ways to play that we like to do to make the game fun for us, because right now ladder is not fun for some people. So it's like that. So like it just feels like piling on, like, so the timing of this is probably the worst. Is probably the worst thing that happened, because it's pile on after pile on after pile on, and it's like, okay, now what's next for them to take away? Team 5 really hasn't had, and Team 5 had nothing to do with this at all. This is purely in my opinion, a legal side going, okay, we need to target this right now. Team 5, the people behind Hearthstone and self-development, had nothing. They probably had no clue this was going on.
Yep.
So it's so it's one of those things where, okay, we get the really bad news with the tournament mode, the fact that they had a kind of ready to go, ready to ship, and it sucked, and so they just like, and they figured it sucked, so we didn't want to disappoint the community, which fine, that's Blizzard's way. If it's bad, they don't release it. So
Project Titan.
Exactly, yeah, Project Titan, StarCraft Ghost, etc. The list goes on. So, it's just the community, and so basically, it started out this little tiny snowball, a little bit of overreaction, started snowballing, to the point where, people were just got mad, and I have no problem with people getting mad. But we were all hearing just one half of the story. So, and the fact that, it's one of those things where, okay, so UHL didn't do the work or didn't know about the community licensing. Nobody knew about, THL didn't know about the community licensing until I don't know, probably a few weeks ago or whatever. So,
okay, so at that point, it's like, it's not that they didn't do it. It's free, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that they didn't do it because they didn't want to. To me, that seems like a disconnect, that they didn't even know they had to do it. And from the sound of it, it doesn't sound like THL knew either.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a correct assumption?
I would imagine so. Based on,
so that's not intuitive, right? So at that point, it's like, you're calling to say, hey, you need to do this. But from a PR standpoint, that needs to be handled delicately, and it sounds like it wasn't.
Yeah, and just to bring up some insight in chat, the Town Drunk said what happened today was a misunderstanding that he messaged. The Town Drunk believes it was a misunderstanding. He messaged Mike to try to help him out with the licensing. He did fill out the form, which I can confirm as a member of UHL that Mike Lowe did fill out that form. And he thought since he didn't get an email, he wasn't approved. Those processes take more than just a day or two. A lot of times you'll fill out those forms for Blizzard, and you might not get a response for 3-4 weeks.
I've scheduled firesides that take a week and a half to get approved. So yeah.
And you're an established innkeeper. And he did acknowledge that THL found out on Friday. So obviously from Friday to now with THL being informed, we didn't see any kind of blow up like this, where when Mike was informed, there was obviously a misunderstanding. He did admit that he was in the middle of driving when he had his phone conversation. So the focus may not have been there to get the appropriate information. He obviously wasn't in a position to write anything down. So I think what it boils down to is they're wanting some kind of organization to keep track of these leagues, help them out in any way they can, and to make sure they're following the appropriate guidelines, that they're not violating any kind of policies for that the company has to answer to, like large prize pools. You know, in the United States, there are laws against doing large prize pools without paying a certain amount of taxes. And if an organization that's not affiliated with Blizzard does a Hearthstone tournament with $100,000 prize pool, all of a sudden Blizzard is going to, if the government finds out about that, they're going to look at Blizzard, not at that small tournament organizer. So they got to protect themselves, and I get that. So it really is boiled down to, Casey Clark said it best in chat, Blizzard wants those leagues to fill out a dang form. Yes, that's what it boils down to. And I think them asking for them to have an official form and stuff just was taken as they're wanting to control the leagues, and that's not what they want to do at all.
Even if they did, that's their right to police those leagues.
That is true.
But you and I don't think anybody's arguing that. In fact, there is something to be said for having some oversight and including perhaps even Blizzard-style swag for competing in them, much like we have with some of the firesides that we have. So, I mean, Blizzard oversight isn't necessarily a bad thing. So, I guess my question is, was there a better way to approach this than calling them individually and saying, hey, this is kind of what's going on. Fill out this form, and we may or may not approve your league.
Getting more information from the town drunk, who's giving great information in chat, is the form is automatically approved. So you fill out the form, and it basically prompts you when you're done that if anything was filled out wrong, and if it wasn't, it props up saying you're approved. Where Mike Lowe was expecting a confirmation email, and evidently the form's not designed that way. And I guess it's clarified on the form that it's not going to give a follow-up email. And so he wasn't sure it was approved, even though it stated in the form that it's approved. And it was a misunderstanding. And it was asked in chat to the town drunk, why didn't the PR representative help Mike through the process? I do know that when Mike was talking to the representative, he was driving his vehicle at the time, so he might not have been in a position to then sit down. Again, I don't know if the PR representative asked him if he wanted to do it while he's on the phone or not. I wasn't privy to that, but I know he wasn't in the position to do it, and he did it at a later time. So I believe it was a miscommunication and a misunderstanding, and I think that all the leagues involved will still be able to perform at their in their same roles. They just have to fill out the forms and make sure they have the correct support and contacts for the esports division. And I don't think that'll be a problem at all. It specifically states an email address that the organizers and the members of the administration of those leagues can contact if they have any questions. And that would be the best course of action for those that are on the board for THL, for the UHL Commissioner Mike Lowe, any of the other leagues that are wanting to be part of this. So if you do run a league, even if it's a small league, of any type that plays on a regular basis, go to the website we mentioned before. We'll make sure it's in the show notes, and fill out that form.
Okay,
And,
so here's my point. What you just said is exactly the problem that I have with this.
okay.
If you're going to suddenly start policing it, this is when you issue a statement and you make it blanket. You say, hey, this is what we define as a league. If you are running this, you need to have this. Go here, fill out this form. If you have questions, contact us and a representative will contact you. Because otherwise, when you get this phone call, you may feel like you're being targeted. And whether it's the reality or not, like Matt said before, there is this perception that right now, Blizzard doesn't care about the people who want to compete. So you shelve tournament mode. You basically tell us that, hey, we couldn't get it done the way that we wanted to do. You've got these other CCGs that are doing it. I get Blizzard wants to get it right. I appreciate that Blizzard wants to get it right. But the point was you told people you were going to do it, and then you pulled the rug out from under them. So then you come in and you pretty much make individual phone calls to the commissioners of the leagues. Now, should it have blown up? Maybe not. But the point is that you have to be smarter than that as a company to make sure that you aren't stepping in landmines of your own creation. So to me, it seems like a blanket statement. Hey, we realize that some of you are running community events that aren't properly licensed through Blizzard. This is what we define as a community event. If you feel like what you're doing falls under this category, please fill out this form. If you have questions or you want to know if your event qualifies, then contact us and a representative will be in touch with you. That would prevent people from feeling like they were being targeted, and this whole mess could have been averted.
I agree with you 100%. I will state that the esports division is not a Hearthstone esports division. It's Blizzard esports. So I do see that they could not understand what the Hearthstone community considers a league, according to that esports division that also, works with, leagues or whatnot, whatever you want to call them, for Heroes of the Storm, for Overwatch, and so forth and so on. They may not have quite understood that these leagues fell underneath that correct criteria. And I agree, the communication should have been there, but obviously this is something they haven't seen before. This is something they'll learn from, and going forward, if they make this mistake again, I agree with you. It's uncalled for, but there's always room for something they didn't anticipate. A lot of the people in these esports divisions, some of them may not have the Hearthstone communities on their radar, while the Hearthstone teams might, but that esport division might not understand what Team Hearth League is, or United Hearthstone League, or even have heard of them before.
Okay, in my last job, I worked for an international company that dealt with other multi-billion-dollar international companies. When we had an issue, we went to each individual place and we got pertinent information. If your esports division doesn't reach out to the division that controls the game that you're having the issue with, that's on you as a company, and that needs to be fixed.
I can understand that. And I do know that Team Hearth League was contacted before United Hearthstone League. And a lot of that is, if you look at Team Hearth League's coverage over the years, back when they were in their alpha and beta, they had one league. Now they have the Sylvanas League, the Ragnaros League, the Mysterious Challenger League, and they're working on the formation of a pro league. So they have single competitor leagues all the way to team leagues, and some of the players in these leagues are predominant names like Dr. Jikaninki, Ray C, Soyun. There are just who's who of Hearthstone players in these leagues, and it could be that one of the esports organizers were looking up profiles for some of these pro players and found this league and was like, what's this? Where did this exist? And they started to investigate it. I do believe you're right. They need to investigate these things and be aware of the communities. This could just be the moment that they were aware of it. Sure, it's been around for years, but it hasn't been around to this size and scope. I can definitely know from somebody who's been in Team Hearth League for around 2 years now. I've been playing for 5 seasons. It has grown leaps and bounds to what it was when I even started playing just 5 seasons ago. So it may have not been large enough to be on their radar. And now this is the biggest season they've ever had. The Sylvanas League was so small, it only ran 7 weeks of regular season, and now it has to run a full 9 weeks, and that's the first season they've had to do that. So that means our numbers increased astronomically. So this just could be the only time it's been big enough to be on their radar. I'm glad that this discussion is being had, so hopefully it never has to be had again.
And I'm glad you segued into that, because I was actually just about to ask that one question, and then we'll move on. What does Blizzard take away from this? Because if I'm on Team 5 right now, I'm thinking, great. Now, this is another fire that we have to put out.
I think, and you've seen Team 5 and Blizzard kind of get into this realm recently with Talkstone. One of the biggest communities out there is the podcast community, and it, for the longest time, has been ignored in Hearthstone. And just recently, we've seen from the rise of Omnistone break into Talkstone, and now they're realizing that podcast communities are where you get information, patch drops, any speculations on sets coming out, what people want in the game, league communities. I know Pirate Radio is a podcast that just talks about Team Hearth League and standings. And podcasts like ourselves, Into the Wild, Coin Concede, 1600 Dust, the list goes on, that talk about these leagues on a regular basis on their show. And I'm hoping that somebody in the esports division says, hey, we need somebody listening to these podcasts, reporting back any information to help us grow our departments. And I hope the teams that develop the game say, hey, we need somebody on our team listening to these podcasts to find out what the players want. Because obviously this is where we disseminate information. This ball really dropped today, and we're one of the first shows to talk about it, and I guarantee we're not going to be the last.
Matt?
I got nothing to add there. I think, like the whole situation, I think could have been solved with a tweet like about 2 weeks ago. Say, hey, this is what we're doing. But it's one of those things, that's the past. It's happened now. We now know about this, and everybody's now very much aware of the licensing that was required if you want to do something. So,
right, but I mean, at this point, don't you think Blizzard should probably just put out a news alert that says, okay, this is what we did, spell it out for us. This is what we consider a community event.
100%.
I agree, but I would not expect it. To be honest, with BlizzCon around the corner, I wouldn't expect it until after BlizzCon. But this didn't become a hot issue until less than 24 hours ago. So if they're going to make a statement of any type, it's got to go through their PR department and everything. We're probably at least not going to see it for a week and a half. And then we're getting into BlizzCon season.
I feel like their PR department should have been involved in this from the beginning. If you're legal and you haven't gone through the PR department before you start contacting content creators about your game, then you missed the mark.
The PR department was involved. That's who reached out and communicated.
Okay, no, that is not correct.
Oh, it's not? Okay, clarify then.
PR department has not been involved in this process in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. So
who has?
There you go.
The legal team reached out to the community management team and said, could you please do this? Now, was it the community manager's job to do this? No. I don't think so. I think it should have been the esports team. It was an esports issue. The esports team should have probably been the one to handle this, but they weren't. It would be like if I was at work, you guys know I work I work in a television station. And if my legal department came to me and said, hey, this station in St. Louis is doing this, can you call them? I'm going to be like, no, I work in IT. I don't have any reason to be doing that.
Now, we're getting clarification in chat that legal was not involved. Are you saying you have sources that state that legal was involved?
I don't know how much I can say and how much I can't.
Okay.
Because
well, we know,
I do
we
know
know
I
the
have
department
talked to
that
I have talked
communicated.
to some management at Blizzard and have gotten information from management at Blizzard, and I don't know how much of that I can disseminate.
So now what? I think some of what you were saying got lost in the shuffle. Now the person doing the communicating was from the
Town Drunk is given. Town Drunk is saying, so here's the way I understand it happened. Someone who might have been Town Drunk reached out to them. They were not sure how to proceed. I was told that information was then passed to the legal department. The legal department then sent back a response that might have triggered this whole situation, is the way it was presented to me.
Yeah. Now, the communication that was given to THL and UHL was from the community department.
Okay.
We do know that. So now whether legal had the community department contact them or not, we don't know that. We're making some assumptions that probably aren't accurate.
Okay, so how this should have gone down then. If the legal found out about it and had an issue with it, or esports found out about it and had an issue with it and took it to legal, whatever. The point is, your point person should have been your PR team because that's their job. Their job is public relations.
We are in fact speculating at best.
Well, yes. I'm just saying, if you're contacting content creators about the game that you're contacting them about the game that you are providing, and they're creating content on your level, and you're having to communicate from your company to that public person, your PR team needs to be the one communicating because they are the ones that are trained in conflict resolution, and they're the ones that are trained in how to communicate what your company wants with what you feel like you need.
Yeah. So Town Drunk says legal had no problem with it. Legal told the community to ask esports. Now, esports should have been the one handling this from the beginning. Plain and simple. That's what I said a minute ago. It shouldn't have, community team got the request, passed it to who it needed to go to, should have been esports responding, but it wasn't.
So legal was involved, but they didn't have a problem with it. They didn't communicate with anybody. That was done through the community department in association with the esports department.
All we know is the contact information.
Yeah.
The people in chat know that they were contacted by who they were contacted from. What happens once they contacted or were contacted behind the doors is pure speculation on our part. It's pure speculation on their part.
And to your point, we shouldn't be having to speculate. There should be an announcement, and hopefully there will be an announcement clarifying all of these issues with the appropriate directions on how to get your needed license.
That's why you have a PR department.
Yeah.
That is their job. And from the sound of it, it doesn't sound like they were allowed to do their job or they were bypassed in the process in order to get information out quickly, which when you look at from a perspective of we need to get this solved, PR normally takes time. There's red tape that you have to go through, so on and so forth. I've been in this situation before too, where people are just like, well, I'll just take care of it now. We can handle this. We just talk person to person. It's fine. Gentleman's agreement, whatever. It almost never ends well. Usually when you have something like this and you're having to talk to a customer and there's an issue, even if it's not an issue yet, if there's the potential for an issue, that's why you get people trained in that to do. That's the point. That's what they do. That's their job. is to smooth things over before it even gets rough. It's to ensure that the message that you want to send is delivered smoothly, accurately, and that there is a path back to them to have questions answered in a way that, in not only a timely manner, but answered accurately. So that's why I'm saying, like, you release this news first. You allow the people to come to you, and then after a set amount of time, if you're, I'm going to use the quote of problem children, if your problem children still haven't contacted you, then you reach out to them individually. But from the sound of it, it sounds like the intent wasn't to call someone out, but it may have been taken that way. It may have been that the conversation turned sideways because maybe the guy talking to them wasn't trained in how to do it properly. It could be that because Mike was in a car and because he was distracting the first part of the conversation, things got turned sideways. It could be a host of things that go wrong, which is why you have that department do what they do. And I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make. It's forget who was involved. It wasn't PR, and that's who should have been involved.
Agreed.
And I think now that we kind of got to use this as an excuse to talk about where we think the next stage of Hearthstone esports evolution is going anyway, which is kind of cool too. It wasn't a great way to bring up the topic, but it's something that we've been speculating on since really TESPA, and how well the TESPA tournament with the 3 people. And then we did the Invitational Avantis, where each innkeeper had
Tavern versus Tavern.
Tavern versus Tavern. And we talked about how well that went and how well a Team Hearthstone event could work. So this is something that we've been talking about for a while. And, you can speculate, you can conspiracy theory, whatever, that, if they're finally paying attention to this, maybe they have plans to go about this. And really, when I heard about it this morning, that was my first inclination, was that, why are they getting involved now when they could have gotten involved earlier? And that, to me, seemed like the natural progression was, well, this is a space that we now want to officially operate in. So, and, Avantis and I own an IP. If someone goes in and starts using our stuff, we want creative control over it. So we understand how that works and why there is the need for creative control. I think in this situation, it was blown out of proportion, and regardless of whose fault it was, it could have all been prevented by just going through the proper channels from the beginning.
Agreed.
So, all right.
Moving on.
So that normally here at this point, we would be talking about the recent nerfs and the balance changes to
that's already been
and
talked
Banner,
to death.
Bannerworm, but those balance changes are going to go live tomorrow. We'll have them listed in the show notes if you guys want to follow up, but I highly recommend listening to the new episode of Coin Concede. They get very comprehensive in the breakdown of these balance updates. So go check those guys out if you are interested in what's coming. So that means we can then talk about the HCT Fall Championship that happened last weekend. So if you guys watched any of it last weekend, it was really exciting. Top 4 who will be continuing on to the World Championship were Bloodyface, Blood Trail, Just Saying, and Languagehacker. And of course, those of you who follow our show regularly know that we've had both Bloodyface and Languagehacker on a couple of times.
We've actually gotten to hang out with both of them in person, which is really cool.
Yes.
Both of them are great guys.
They really are. And we were ecstatic in the Hero Power community that Languagehacker and Bloodyface both made it to the finals to face each other. Made it hard to pick a favorite. So I didn't. And congratulations to Languagehacker on winning his first HCT championship. And congratulations to Bloodyface for a well-fought second place.
So just a real quick, I want to say that Bloodyface played at our venue for prelims back in 2016. He's one of the hardest working Hearthstone players I know. And Languagehacker was my practice partner for DreamHack Atlanta last year in 2017. And he is also a very intelligent Hearthstone player, knows tournament formats to a T on picking up lineups, knowing the meta. Both of these players are extremely cerebral and intelligent about the game, and no better finals this year has ever happened, in my opinion.
So, a couple of things of note. Bloodyface actually had to reverse sweep twice to make it, which about gave me a heart attack. I was like sitting here watching, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, is he really going to do this again? And then, so kudos for that, for keeping composure and staying after it and knowing his outs.
On that topic, real quick, just because it's on topic, also in the group stages for Bloodyface, he was unfavored in both of his matches that he won to get into the elimination rounds. So that's even furthermore credit him.
Actually, I feel like he was unfavored a lot.
Yes.
I have to say, his odd rogue play was impeccable.
Yeah.
That is seriously the best I've ever seen anyone pilot that deck.
He's also good.
To the point where it's like I learned a lot of things just by watching him compete. And like if you watch him in like in the group stages rounds, because that's the ones I got a chance to really sink my teeth into. His play was just absolutely clean and beautiful.
He's the best quest rogue player I've seen too. But I also want to point out that Languagehacker was eliminated from the Group A, or no, from the Group B, and knocked down in the lower bracket, and then had to fight his way back. And I think he dropped one game. Before getting to the finals
versus Renman. It was that crazy. If there's a series you want to watch, it's Renman versus Languagehacker. Game 2. Yeah. It was it was Taunt Druid versus Cube Warlock.
Yeah,
and so many spotters.
Oh my gosh, he ended up facelessing and Tal'Darim, the cube that had the Hadronox in it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, cubing those Hadronox that he got. So he was getting Void Lords and Void Walkers. And I tell you, Renman was rolling lucky on that because he got Void Lords more times than he should have.
Not recommended if you're arachnophobic.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest matches of Hearthstone I've ever seen.
Yep.
Or think Taunt is cheat.
Yes.
And just to kind of give a little teaser, we will talk more about this series next week. We're going to go a little bit more deep dive in Languagehacker's run. We are hoping to have Languagehacker on the show next week. We will have more information on that on Twitter, so make sure to follow us at HeroPower_cast on Twitter.
Now look at you stealing Avanti's thunder.
That's all right.
That's what I do.
It's all right. He does it well. All right. So that brings us to the Hallow's End event started today, and it runs through Halloween, October 31st. So logging in during this event will give you the Golden Witch's Cauldron. We also get the dual class arenas starting today.
So fun.
And your first arena run is free. So if you haven't logged in today, go check it out. The Monster Smash Tavern Brawl began today. It'll catch on in a flash. Take control of one of Witchwood's powerful monsters and misfits and see who rules the Witchwood. So check out that Tavern Brawl. The Headless Horseman Rides Again Tavern Brawl will begin next week, October 24th through the 29th. And also the Hallow bundle begins.
Hello.
So it is $19.99 for 20 Witchwood packs and the Anoyo Paladin portrait. So go check out that event. So, all right. That brings us to the portion of the show where we would normally break down a deck that you might see in or on the ladder in the current meta. Which, let me remind you, meta is perception, not reality. Very important.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means the meta is what we make it. It is never set permanently.
And speaking of not permanently, nerfs happen tomorrow, so we're not really going to want to play something on the ladder that you will possibly change tomorrow. So we are going to give you a little taste of what you might have missed during the HCT with much less skillful players.
Exactly.
Yes. So let me introduce Bloodyface Mattatarms and Languagehacker Zeortio, as we are going to recreate, I guess. They are going to play the lineups. Bloodyface and Languagehacker played this weekend in the finals. And we will, Versika and I are going to shoutcast their match. So they will be playing each other best 3 out of 5 with whichever decks they do not choose to ban. So, Matt, what of Languagehacker's decks are you banning?
I'm going to ban his rogue.
Oh.
No rogue for Zeortio.
And I am banning the Druid, which is
Exactly
identical.
how the bans went. Yeah.
Yep.
So there
So
you
we're
go.
banning what Bloodyface and Languagehacker also chose to ban.
Yeah. So do
I
you
figure they
guys
know more than we do.
Do you guys have any last minute things you would like to add before we jump into this gameplay?
Do we at least want to mention the class lineups that we'll be playing?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I was gonna say we can.
Okay, you guys will talk about it? Okay.
That. Yeah,
No,
we probably
other
need to
than
get
that-
started. This is gonna run long anyway.
Yeah. All I got to say is we know who won in the finals. So, yeah.
See, the only reason I picked Bloodyface because he and I have the same hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
All right, I sent you the things, Roshi.
All right. So, with all that said, if you are joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned for the live play portion of our show. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast, where you can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOGamers or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. If you enjoy the show, you'd like to help support and improve it, you can do so by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/HeroPower. You can also get access to our patron-only Discord. We will see you again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
All right, gentlemen.
Just the two of us.
Hold on.
All right,
So
we'll see you
we,
guys on the flip side.
For those watching, we are going to keep our cams on so you can see our reactions, but we will not be able to hear or speak. And I'm dropping out. Are you going to send us a message when you're ready for us to start?
I'm ready for you guys to start whenever you are.
Yeah.
All
Go
right.
for it.
Then I'm dropping out.
Good luck. Okay. So
All
are
right.
they gone?
They are gone, finally.
They're
God,
gone.
let me tell
Right.
you.
Goodness gracious. That's a Roshio guy. He never shuts up.
Yeah, and Mattatarms, he just... Wait, no, he doesn't talk very much, so I ain't got nothing to say.
He doesn't when I'm on.
Yeah, that's true.
He can't get a word in edgewise between.
You might want to stop your screen share.
Ah, good point.
Wait a minute. If he stops his screen share, then they can't see.
Who can't see?
I'm just kidding.
All right. So, waiting on them. Looks like they are in.
Cool. I'm fighting Spectate Boss. Spectate Boss. Baby. Ah, got one of them.
Yeah. So on stream, I will have Zeortio at the bottom, and Mattatarms will be at the top if I can beat the Spectate Boss.
I ended up with it opposite, but that's all right.
Okay, so looks like we've got Zeortio's keeping the Nourish on his opening hand. He draws into Wild Growth, Ironwood Golem, and Carnivorous Cube. Mattatarms has the Dire Mole, Rexar, Crackling Razor Maw, and Kill Command. He leads out with the Dire Mole.
Yeah, that Dire Mole, well, the crackling into the Dire Mole is great opening. Snap pick the Volcanic Might. Just trying to get as much damage as possible in early. And, I mean, honestly, I think for Zeortio here, I think this is still a Wild Growth turn, even though Mattatarms is going to be pushing 8 this turn. Be down to 20 pretty fast. I think the coin's more valuable, saving it for Nourish.
Yeah,
but he's probably going to end up having to swap this board.
Mattatarms draws the Snipe, which could be good if. Well, it's not gonna. Snipe wouldn't remove either of the creatures in Zeortio's hand. Certainly not going to remove that, which he can't play.
Yes, now Zeortio's he's got an interesting choice. He can either put out the Ironwood Golem, or he can swipe the Dire Mole. I think Ironwood's the play here, but this is going to be easily removed by Kill Command and probably the Mole. The next turn, he's just going to subject 9, because this is the Secret Hunter, not the Death Rattle version that a lot of people will play.
That's correct, yeah. Which I really, really liked this deck. Watching Bloody pilot it all weekend was a lot of fun.
So you would think here this would be an easy swipe turn, right? He's at 18. He's got to get some of the damage off the board. He doesn't have anything in his hand to make armor, so you go to Nourish for cards here, or Nourish for mana. He chooses to Nourish for mana. So armor up, take out the Dire Mole, down to 17.
And that puts him at enough to play the Primordial Drake next turn, which clears off one of the minions.
Right, and Mattatarms didn't get a chance to play the swipe.
The Snipe.
Yeah, I said swipe. Yeah. So this has to be Primordial Drake's got to come down.
Well, I don't know. Well, there could be a case for the. Yeah, he does go with the.
Yeah, because he can board clear here, and then next turn he can play Lich King. And this is actually going to be a slow turn for Mattatarms. I think he probably Rexars here, but he's going to go the tracking route. I think this is, I was going to say, Secret Keeper is pretty much a snap pick here. So Secret Keeper, and then probably Freezing Trap, and then Wandering Monster would be my bet. He's got a Rat Trap. Okay.
Yep.
With 4 cards in hand, I don't see Zeortio playing 3 cards in one turn anytime soon.
Well, he's got 9 mana. He could play the branching paths into the swap into the. Well, no, he wouldn't have a reason to play the Spellstone.
Right.
So yeah,
if Mattatarms had played the Wandering Monster, then he could have. Would that have triggered a 3 cost? It would have, right? It would trigger the Freezing Trap, but it would have also triggered the 3 cost. So he would have Secret Keeper and a 3 cost minion out. And he could have played Rat Trap the next turn. And then he would still have a minion on
So
board.
he is going to branching paths first.
He's going to have to. He's going to draw a card.
drawing.
I would have figured that this would be armor. He's probably going to split it. Yeah.
Draw 1, gain armor.
All right.
Which
So powered up the
upgrades the
spell stone.
stone. Yep.
Yeah. And now he'll swipe. He's got to get the Secret Keeper off the board.
Nope, he's going to spell stone the
he'll
secret
spell
keeper.
stone. And that's fine. Honestly, I think I would have probably saved the spell stone because Rexar is going to come out eventually. And swipe is guaranteed to do 4 damage. You can upgrade the spell stone, but
So
whatever. I think.
Do you think we'll see the 10 mana primordial next turn?
Yeah, I think so, especially with Mattatarms playing another secret. At this point, I don't know that Zeortio has figured out that Snipe is the secret played, but with Subject 9 having played, he knows that Snipe is in the hand.
Yep.
So you're not going to play Lich King into that. My bet is, if it were me, well, he's going to Wild Growth and draw and then probably play the 8 mana Drake. I would have probably played the 10 mana Drake here. No, he's going to play Lich King into the Snipe.
Yep.
And he'll get
And the Rat
punished
Trap.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of this is just I don't think Zeortio is used to this matchup. This is an
anti-magic
odd deck.
shield. Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to matter at this point. I think, as you were saying, Houndmaster clears Lich King. Everything else goes to face. I would equip Eagle Horn, I think, and set up for lethal next turn.
That is exactly what he will do.
So there isn't much he can do this turn. Swipe doesn't clear the board. You have to put a Drake down. So this is probably going to be Drake armor up. Or not armor up, Druid Hero Power, Shapeshift. If you do that, your opponent has to have Kill Command to win. See, this is also where I would have used the swipe earlier and kept my spell stone.
Oh, there's a taunt. Okay, I was like, oh, no taunts yet. So, but it doesn't matter. It's over.
Yeah.
Bloodyface takes game 1. So, moving into game 2, Zeortio still has the Druid available to him, whereas Mattatarms has now finished his game with the Hunter, so that deck is gone.
So I would imagine he'll go into Zoolock for the next game.
Do you think Zeortio will stay on the Druid, or do you think he will change decks?
So Zeortio has Shudderwalk Shaman available and Odd Rogue. I would imagine he will move into Odd Rogue.
No, his Odd Rogue was banned.
Oh, that's right.
So he's going to play the
The
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah, so this
This is
a
the Death Rattle Hunter.
Death Rattle Recruit Hunter.
Right.
His opening hand is 2 Spider Bombs and a Katharina. And Mattatarms did go to the zoo, and it is a heal zoo. Let's see.
2 Soul Infusions in hand is brutal.
Yeah, along with the Light Warden and a Void Walker.
He has to be aware of Hunter's Mark, and Zeortio is putting out the candle shot to make that threat real. So, Mattatarms is go ahead and put out the Light Warden. I'm a little surprised at this. He's basically telling Zeortio, if you have got Hunter's Mark, I'm going to let you kill one of the most powerful minions in my deck. So called Zeortio's bluff. He didn't have it. So now, from a hand reading standpoint, Mattatarms realizes that now he's got at least 2 turns of getting to smack face with the Light Warden. I'm pretty surprised with that information that he didn't tap that turn.
Yeah.
I think I would have tapped.
So Zeortio draws the
Mossy
Horror. Now, after the nerfs tomorrow, when Giggling Inventor goes up to 7, do you think we'll see as much Mossy Horror tech? Or do you think it's going to kind of fade out even though Spreading Plague is still a thing?
I think it'll stay because of Odd Paladin and the fact that Druid wasn't touched and that Spreading Plague is still a thing.
Okay. So Zeortio plays Houndmaster Shaw and passes the turn.
Cobalt Librarian is the snap play. Tar Creeper, and I think I would Doubling Imp here and just flood the board with as much pressure as possible because Houndmaster is going to take out your Voidwalker. He's going to put out the Tar Creeper. Force Zeortio to plow through taunts, protecting the Light Warden. And I mean, really, he's got Soulfire, so I would have either played the Doubling Imp or I would have Soul Infusion my Fungal Mancer and tapped.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hunter's Mark's got to be the play here. Mind Control Attack is going to come down first, and Mattatarms is going to get punished for playing the Tar Creeper. And Hunter's Mark is going to come down, clear the Tar Creeper, and this should be a full board clear. No, he'll clear the Flame Imp, and then he can't send that to face, but I would imagine he would run it in. I would run it into the Light Warden just to weaken it. Because at this point, it doesn't matter whether Mattatarms heals face or the Light Warden. He's going to have to heal something. He's still going to get the... Well, so if, I guess Fungal Enchanter, it would have healed 2 things, so this will save 2 damage. So Mattatarms lost the board. I wouldn't be greedy. I'd go ahead and play my Fungal Mancer.
Yeah. But he's going to Soulfire the Houndmaster.
Fungal Enchanter goes away. I mean, now there's no way to heal it.
Into the Doubling Imp.
I would have gone ahead and Soul Infusion into the Fungal Mancer. This is Mossy Horror, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Mossy Horror and run in the gnome.
Mind Control Attack,
yeah, clears the board. So there's the Mossy, and there's the clear.
So Cobalt Librarian will come down, I would imagine.
Tap first. Cobalt Librarian, yep. Into the Fungal Enchanter, into the Happy Ghoul. That was a good tempo swing for Mattatarms.
And Zeortio is rewarded with yet another Hunter's Mark.
Yeah, but do you play the do you hard play the Grizzly now that it's only going to lose 2 health and be a 3/10?
Yeah, I would, because Mattatarms will struggle to get through that. He's going to go for the.
Yeah, you make the
defender play.
Yeah, you make the Mossy Horror a 3/8. It's a small Grizzly at that point.
Yeah, Keleseth comes too late. Honestly, I don't think Mattatarms comes back from this. At 15 health, he can't afford to tap too much. And if I were Zeortio, I think I'd start weaving in my hero power. Like this turn, I think I would probably I'd play the egg, probably play dead on the egg, hero power, and send everything face. That pretty much sets up for lethal. I mean, at this point, he knows that Mattatarms doesn't have a board clear. So, good to take the safe route. I would imagine if he didn't go face with everything there, he's probably going to clear, and that's going to be what he does.
Yeah, it's...
With no Hellfires or Defiles, I don't see why you wouldn't send the 4/4 in there. Set up for the next turn.
And there's the concede from Mattatarms. So we are 1-1. Both hunters have won and are out. So
Bloodyface struggled with this deck. So this is not uncommon.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Druid versus Warlock.
Right, and Keleseth in the opening hand is going to make this
Yeah.
a little hard on Zeortio. 2 Oaken Summons in hand, though, does mean that he's going to be able to pull out both Iron Root.
Oh, and Zeortio with the head shake on the turn 2 Keleseth.
So I would imagine this will be a clear on the Librarian. Soul Infusion on the Dreadlord. That's going to be tough. So I would imagine Zeortio probably... I would probably coin Oaken here. This will pull an Iron Root, or Ironwood. So Mattatarms will chain gang and sit Keleseth. Now Zeortio will play a second Oaken. Go up to 12 armor. 37 respective health, 2 Iron Roots, and Mattatarms will have to Fungal Mancer on the Saranites. Even then won't be enough to power through both golems right away.
Yeah.
That helps. So now I think he's going to play the Despicable Dreadlord. I would probably Fungal Mancer in between the Keleseth and the injured Saranite. Clear both golems.
He is going to Despicable and attack in with Keleseth, bringing 1 Ironwood down to 1, which will clear on his turn.
I feel like he could have done that and kept both Saranites intact. Alright, so if I'm Zeortio, I think I go ahead and make him pay for this one. I would probably run the Ironwood into the 3/4 Golem or 3/4 Sarnite Chain Gang. I would Wrath the 3/1 Chain Gang and okay, well he's gonna swipe. Go face. I guess he doesn't care about the 6/6 Dreadlord. Seriously, so if I'm mad at arms here, I think I punish him for that. Fungal Enchanter into 2 Happy Ghouls.
And that's exactly what we're going to see.
And then I would probably tap and Voodoo Doctor and say, have another. Oh, Soul Infusion works too.
So Soul Infusion is going to hit the. It's going to hit the.
So now Zeortio doesn't really have an option except to nourish here. And I feel like he probably has to nourish for mana, and then I think he probably wraths the Fungal Enchanter and naturalizes the Dreadlord. I know he wants to say that naturalized for Hadronox, but okay, well, I mean, he gets to throw the Sleepy Dragon in path. This is going to be a lot of damage. And I mean, considering that the deck runs Spellbreakers, that's a big risk to take.
So do you just drop the?
I think you Oakenheart here.
You Oakenheart here and try to build up a board.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't have an option. It's unfortunate that Hadronox is in hand, but Oakheart's gonna pull out a Dragon Hatcher, which will pull either a Sleepy Dragon or the Primordial Drake. At least you'll have something to fight back with.
Yeah, he's got one Sleepy Dragon in hand, so chances of getting a Primordial are pretty high.
Yeah, 66%.
But he does get the Sleepy.
But he gets it. All right, with 2 Soulfires in hand, he can actually play the hand. He can play everything in his hand, right? 6, yep. This is game? No, he's 1 off. He's going to go ahead and take out the Hatcher.
Oh, and he got both Soulfires off. High rolled the discard. Cleared the board a second time.
Sleepy Dragon has to come down here. Now he's gonna
this is a Hadronox naturalized turn.
I forgot that he still had the naturalized in hand. So
Mattatarms thinking about what all has died and what he's going to have to go through.
It's still game. Solarium, you've already played both Soulfires. I don't understand what he's looking at for Solarium.
Well, I mean, he's gonna clear some of his board to get through this, so he's just looking for stuff he can reload at this point.
Curious, say Fungal Enchanter is just lethal, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so 2-1 in Bloodyface's favor now, going into Game 4. All he has left now is what does he have left?
His Malagos Druid.
Yes, Malagos Druid.
Yeah.
And so we will see what. Oh, and Zeortio is bringing the Shudderwalk Shaman against the Malagos Druid. And he's got Keliseth in his opening hand.
The last time we'll see Giggling Inventor. Wonder. Wasn't the rogue banned?
I think maybe that's what they're.
I thought the rogue was banned. This should have been Malagos Druid, right?
Yes, I believe so. Let me message him.
I think he paused it. Looking in chat. I don't see a chat. Yeah, there it comes. So that's you.
Trying to figure out what exactly is going on here.
I could have sworn that the rogue was banned, but maybe Mattatarms banned. Yeah, okay, that's what it was. That's what it was. Because Bloodyface banned Odd Rogue from Languagehacker, and I guess Languagehacker banned Malagos Druid from Bloodyface. I forgot that Languagehacker brought Odd Rogue as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is coin Keliseth, right? And I know that's usually never how you want it to go, but I don't see you playing a Glacial Shard here.
Nope.
He's going to.
He is going to Glacial Shard. Go ahead and get that freeze effect on the stack for when you do play Shudderwalk later.
I was going to say, this prevents a Cold Blood.
Yes, it does.
And forces Mattatarms to clear with his face and take the 2 damage. So
now
Keliseth here. Yeah.
Yeah, Zeortio just confirmed the Malagos was the one that was banned.
I was going to say, was there any merit to coining out Mana Tide there? There's no real threat.
I don't think so. I
mean,
like this. It would have
pretty much been a taunt.
Yeah, I like this Coin Earth Shock here.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get rid of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Divine Shield. But now he's stuck with having to deal with Flappy Bird.
I was going to say, with Odd Rogue, I think I'm usually saving my Earth Shocks for Flappy Bird and the Pinch Clan Thug. This is going to be a brutal turn, especially if Flappy gets Wind Fury. And there it is. And Stealth. This has to be... I think this has to be Saronite.
Yeah.
He's still going to take... Let's say he's probably still going to take 10. But what he doesn't know is that... Oh, I think I would have Leroyed there. You could have possibly finished with Leroy, right?
Yeah.
If you got the +3, +0.
Yeah, maybe. I think this is.
You volcano here.
Yeah, you have to. You don't have
Yeah.
another option. You have to clear the board.
He's dead to Leroy anyway. Volcano clears the board, but Leroy in hand, he's
Yeah.
just gone. Leroy.
Wow, that was such a fast game. Leroy Jenkins. So congratulations to Bloodyface on winning the HCT Fall Championship.
That was good.
That was a
whole lot
wicked rogue
faster.
draw.
That I think a blind man could have won the game with that rogue draw.
I even had my rally cap on and everything.
That rogue draw was pretty rough.
That was gross. That was pretty gross. As soon as I saw the top deck, I'm like, okay, game's over. The gold blood. I'm like, yeah, this game's over. And then the Wind Fury hit, and I'm like, oh geez.
Yeah.
When you GG'd me and I was still like I think 17 or something, I was like, yeah, he's got the nuts. Hey, GG. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. We should do these more. I love these competitions. I miss doing this. I should play more in the Sylvanas League.
So that's awesome.
So I mean, what did you guys think? So I've got a question for you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you play the rat trap over the snipe?
I figured he was coming into like 8 mana turn. I think at that point.
Mhm.
Right.
There.
Right. So
I think he only drew one, and the thinking was he only drew one wild growth. So I had so it's like, okay, it's probably not going to trigger this turn, but next turn it would probably hit pretty well. I wanted to play it on 5, but I wasn't able to because I was I wanted to play it the turn before. I wanted to play the snipe the turn before to catch the nourish into Arcane Tyrant turn.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering, because you subject 9'd into the next turn. Turn 6, I think you did freezing trap, and then you did
freezing. Yeah, and
that was my question. Is you figured that it's probably either going to be Arcane Tyrant or it's going to be the Drake.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering why the rat trap over the, because if you'd done not snipe, wandering monster. So if you had done the wandering monster, you had Secret Keeper on the board,
mm-hmm.
And he attacked in.
I knew the Secret Keeper would go down. That's why I played the freezing trap first. Oh wait, no, I played the freezing trap before then. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out the turn. So
you played freezing trap and giant rat in the same turn,
right?
I was just wondering why you didn't get wandering monster, because wouldn't it trigger both?
It would.
And that would have given you a minion on board.
That would have given me a minion on board, but I think that was probably the most opportune time to play the rat trap because I kind of wanted to trip him up a little bit.
Gotcha.
And it was. I did not expect the rat trap played there.
Yeah.
I thought that wasn't the opportune time to play rat trap, so obviously you would not have played it. But I went right into rat trap.
On the 10-minute turn, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of tried to predict what you would play, and I was like, well, it's not rat trap, but I was wrong.
It's all right. Well, and I'm kind of glad I played snipe later because when I hit your Lich King, I'm like, I'm like, okay, this is a perfect time to just use, the Houndmaster as a removal spell, and and then hit in with the 8/8 rat trap. So.
And that was my question for Zeortio. It's like you've got a 10 mana Drake in your hand, you've got an 8 mana Drake in your hand. You know Subject 9's been played, and you know that Snipe is in the deck. What made you decide to go Lich King instead of the 10 mana Drake?
I was in the same position, the 8 body, no matter what. I was looking at the 8 attack for the off chance that it wasn't Snipe, but I had a feeling it was Snipe, and I was pretty much it was a rock and a hard place. No matter which one I played, if it's Snipe, I pretty much lose from that point.
Yeah, it's. I think the Lich King play was the right play because one, it draws you a card that's pretty dang powerful. Two, it still presents 8 attack that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going all face at that point. Like I held on to Deathstalker Rexar on the mulligan. So
nice.
Right.
That's the right call against that deck.
Because as soon as I saw Druid, I'm like, okay, I'm holding on to Deathstalker Rexar, and if I go on the face plan, I'm going on the face plan, and that's exactly the way that game worked out.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking you'd go into Deathstalker Rexar after the Subject 9 turn, because then you could just play, in that next turn, you could play your, you just play your secrets then, so.
No, I think at that point in the game, as soon as I dropped the Subject 9 and I drew 5 secrets, and then the next turn, I was like, the next turn was an obvious tracking turn for me because I was fishing for the Spellstone.
Right.
So, and obviously I didn't get it. It's like, okay, Animal Communion's okay. I forget what the other option was, and then Secret Keeper. Secret Keeper actually present a threat that will grow because he knows I have 5 secrets in my hand, and they'll be a 5/6.
When you Rexar, you want to zombies that immediate next turn,
Exactly.
and when your hand's filled with secrets, it limits your ability to zombies.
And in the position I was in that game, it's one of those things where that 2 damage to face hero power is better than any type of beast I would get out of Rexar at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he armored up. I think when you armored Drew, I knew I was like, okay, I'm stuck on. I'm going to be on the Rexar plan. I'm going to be on the face plan here.
Right.
Because if you double armored that turn, I think I would have considered going to Rexar.
I felt like once you invested in Secret Keeper, and you once you invested in the Secret Keeper and you were obviously going the secret route. I felt like at that point, pushing the hero power was going to be where you went anyway. So,
yeah, and honestly, of all Bloodyface's decks, that one's my favorite, just because
the
versatility.
It's so versatile. It can literally if I got 3 attack on that Dire Mold turn 2. That game would have probably been over about 2 turns sooner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those. It's one of those things where, it can smork people down really well, but it has the versatility to kind of play the long game a little bit. And the reason is Deathstalker Rexar.
Right.
So that's why I kind of lead off with that deck usually whenever I play. That type of if I play a Conquest or Last Hero Standard, I tend to lead with the Hunter because it's probably the most versatile deck in the lineup.
So Zeortio, that same game, you went swipe into, I want to say it was the Secret Keeper or you went Spellstone instead of swipe. Why did you Spellstone instead of swipe?
I felt like I needed to swipe for the Hunter Spellstone, so I could set up a board for another Primordial Drake play.
Okay.
I needed to put that extra damage on those wolves. So it would be a swipe plus branching pass for armor, and then follow it up with a 2 damage board clear.
Okay.
That's why I saved it. I wanted to keep the Spellstone mainly for Shaw. Wanted to get it up to 6 so I could take out Shaw with 1 mana, but I had to pick one or the other and hope he didn't draw the other option. Unfortunately, he had the Shaw and not the Spellstone. So
right. Okay, that makes sense. I was just curious because that Spellstone would have come in really handy later. I was just curious why you went that route.
And the nice thing with that Druid deck that he played, especially against the Zoo matchup, because when I nodded when I queued in Zoo and he went back to Druid, it's like, okay, this is the matchup I want, because quite honestly, I don't have to play around Spreading Plague at that point.
Yeah.
So that like I have free reign to like heal my face with the 3-mana with the fungal enchanter, and go wide with the Happy Ghouls.
Yeah. But was there a better play than Zeortio's head shake on the turn 2 Keleseth? He's just like smiles and says, "Oh."
Yeah, the based on HS replay, one of the highest win percentages is Keleseth on 2.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I got it back in the mulligan, I'm like, sweet. I'm like, yeah, okay, this will be good.
To quote Frid from Hearth Coach, he played Keleseth on 2. He has a high level of skill in Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm. Well, you played Wild Growth on 2, so that was just as good.
It's true. That's true.
It's funny because one of the reasons that I didn't pick Languagehacker was because he brought Shudderwalk Shaman in with the lineup that he brought, Shudderwalk Shaman and Quest Rogue. Yeah, he only lost one match, but I feel like did he lose with the Shaman at all?
Shudderwalk Shaman
he lost
completely.
I think he lost one. It was completely undefeated. It was undefeated.
Yeah.
According to Brian
Kibler, that was the one
undefeated.
Because that was the one game that he won when he was knocked out by Blood Trail, right?
Do you want to know why I believe it was undefeated?
Why?
Hemet.
Yes.
His inclusion of Hemet allows him to ramp into the combo a good 4 or 5 turns faster than a standard Shudderwalk. Now, when I first started playing Shudderwalk Shaman, I used Hemet as well. The difference is you're relying so much on the Shudderwalk to win instead of some of the other tools in the deck to sustain, where the non-Hemet versions can win without Shudderwalk, where the Hemet version has to rely on Shudderwalk. But that's why it's there.
Now, I was going to say, it was just saying that won without using Shudderwalk, right? Just ran it as a mid-range? Or was that...
No, that was...
that was Sentinel after it was burned. Again.
Yeah. No, Sentinel had the combo Shudderwalk. He just had a Giggling Inventor for the aggro matchups.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but he won after he won the match that his Shudderwalk was burned, right?
No.
Was it not?
No, that was the just saying
it was when Saiyan burned his Gul'dan, he ended up winning that Warlock match.
That's right. It was the Gul'dan that got burned where he won.
Somebody won one with the Shudderwalk, and the Shudderwalk wasn't even played. There
was a few games where Shudderwalk just literally was the backup condition to the fact that it was a tempo deck that it's the Shudderwalk. It with the Shudderwalk combo just because there was. They pulled Keleseth early and they had bigger minions and just was able to smack face.
The difference, though, is Languagehackers relies more on the Shudderwalk, and that's why it has the Hemet.
Yeah.
Is to clear the rest of the deck out to get to that Shudderwalk faster. We'll talk about that more next week, hopefully, when we get Languagehacker on. Again, we're still working out the schedule with him to make sure he's available, but that is the current plan.
Yep. All right, gang. With that, I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please send us an email at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button below on YouTube if you've not done so already, and give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. For more details about our Patreon, check out patreon.com/heropower. And until next week, good gaming.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Blister Guy, for the card back and all the other BlizzCon goodies.
Yeah, I saw you both rocking